Take a good hard look at these enemies. They all come from completely different games, different eras, and different nightmares. But they all share one terrifying secret that taps into the human mind. They all live in what's known as the Uncanny Valley. When something is intended to look human, but gives off a deeply unsettling vibe, that is the Uncanny Valley preying upon our minds. To get a better understanding of what the Uncanny Valley is, let's break things down using this simple graph. The x-axis is how human something looks, and the y-axis is how appealing or comfortable we find it. First, let's look at what sits at the origin of the graph. Dull objects such as rocks, potatoes, and trees sit at or near the zero on both axes. They're not inviting, nor are they frightening in most cases. As we start adding human-like features, we find things like toys and human-like creatures to be cute and endearing. The trend of our comfort level starts moving in a favorable direction. The more human-like features that something has, the more inviting it is to us. That is, until a very specific point. Once something is very close to being human, but not quite there, we enter into this gray area, where something just feels wrong. A steep, sudden drop-off occurs, crossing the line from comfort into pure unease and revulsion. That dip is the Uncanny Valley. Funny enough, once a character, creature, or object appears fully and convincingly human, that sense of unease quickly vanishes as we climb back out of the valley and cross the x-axis. The valley is that small, chilling area where our brains struggle to process if something is safe or a threat. So, why does the Uncanny Valley trigger this reaction in our minds? The quick answer is survival instinct. For most of human history, disease has been an invisible killer. Primitive societies quickly learned that lethal illnesses often come with visible symptoms on the skin, accompanied by acts of vomiting that would further distort the appearance of an individual. This basic explanation correlates perfectly with our fear of modern zombies. While the original concept of zombies stemmed from Haitian folklore and voodoo, modern media has ditched these roots for a more biological concept in the form of viruses, parasites, or fungus. This shift plays directly with our subconscious fear of infection that's plagued human civilization for all of existence. These walking corpses that look unsettlingly close to us, with visible blemishes and decay that scream infected. This fear is further amplified when a simple scratch or bite has biological ramifications, which is far scarier than a puppeted corpse controlled by an individual. We fear becoming the monster, but more profoundly, we fear the virus that it spreads. Beyond the fear of infection, there's a powerful emotional aspect that comes from zombies as well. It's the cognitive dissonance of seeing something that resembles someone you knew or loved, and knowing deep down, it's not them. Not anymore. Even on a more basic level, humans are social creatures that depend on one another in communities in order to thrive. Calling out to a fellow human for help, only to notice that they're not what you thought they were. This is a common setup in horror games and film. You approach someone with a feeling of relief and comfort, only to see that flicker of something wrong right before it's too late. The switch from comfort and safety, only for your brain to reconcile with this misjudgment, creates a roller coaster from a metaphorical peak, crashing down to the depths of the Uncanny Valley at full force. The Uncanny Valley is also the perfect vehicle in horror to use for modern-day concepts to push that cognitive dissonance with metaphorical substance. The main enemies in BioShock are known as splicers, who become addicted to a substance called Adam that gives them their power. Over time, the use of Adam caused them to morph into something human-adjacent in appearance with extreme aggression. This distorted version of a once human being is used to express the horrors of greed and addiction, a visual demonstration of how it will distort your inner self. The grotesque nature that weighs on one's soul is on full display in both appearance and action. Another example of this being Slenderman from Slenderman the 8 Pages, a free-to-play horror title that took the internet by storm with an antagonist being nothing more than a faceless-looking man in a suit. Normally a suited man is considered trustworthy. At least that's what politics try to tell you. But the faceless nature creates a disturbing presence. Had this creature been given a face, Slenderman would quickly scale up the right side of the valley graph and lose its scare factor as it would look too human-like. Further, making me believe that the subtle message of the faceless suit should be feared, as they may be less human than they appear. Just like the faceless suits that we see in modern day, it does not care about you. It has no empathy. Throughout all of human history, we lived in a society where we depend on one another. Knowing that our fellow man who has all the power is like this is nothing short of terrifying. The faceless nature continues in the psychological horror of Silent Hill 2, a game with plenty of human-shaped monsters with no faces. Before continuing, a spoiler alert for Silent Hill 1 and 2, so click ahead to the timestamp on screen if you don't want this revealed. If you know about the lore of Silent Hill, it's that the monsters are projections of the subconscious, with the second game being the protagonist James' projection. Everything is connected to his guilt for killing his wife, with the town summoning James to torment him for his sins. The nurses and mannequins, being related to his repressed sexual desires while his wife was dying from an illness, appear faceless as he did not look at other women as people, but as objects. The sins of his lust now come to him faceless as he once saw them, giving them a sense of unease when compared to the doctors and nurses that you face in Silent Hill 1. But looking into the gray areas of the valley itself, this is where the character Maria and Lisa come into play. Maria is nothing more than a manifestation of James's late wife Mary, but fulfills James's desires in a way that are uncharacteristic of her. It's pretty easy to deduce that Maria isn't quite normal, but her appearance and human-like nature isn't off-putting enough to turn tail and run. Even when she dies but returns, that fear isn't there, even knowing that this is not normal. Simply maintaining the appearance of being human without error keeps Maria from scaring us, and is likely manifested in a way to comfort James, only to be taken away from him. This is intentional for his punishment. Lisa from Silent Hill 1 plays the opposite side of this, as she's a projection from the girl Alessa, but we the player and the protagonist Harry do not know this right away. Like Maria, Lisa is manifested to look completely human, as she's likely a person of comfort for Alessa since she was her direct caretaker. Once the pieces fall into place and Lisa starts to physically unravel, we're met with a strange mix of somber and horror. A character who has no ill will towards us and only wants comfort, only for Harry to quickly leave in a panic, terrified as this woman we trusted was not who we thought she was. Knowing now that this version of Lisa is not human, Harry's sense of self-preservation drives him to run away, despite her docile nature up until now. Both our minds and Harry's have fallen down into the valley. At this point, we understand the trough of the valley, which is where our minds panic the most when seeing something human-like, but I want to discuss something that makes it hit so hard in horror games. Our minds are not static. We process information given to us, which changes the response from our brains. For example, in Silent Hill 1, we're presented with a false jump scare where we open up a shaking locker only for a cat to jump out instead of something that's an actual threat. We went in with a sense of fear and tension, only to recorrect with a sense of relief once our brains process the event. The opposite happens in Resident Evil 2 when we open up a door that's normally a loading screen, but instead 2 zombies come out, which is a complete subversion of expectations. Normally seeing 2 zombies like this is a moderate level of tension, but when we're in a position of reprieve and expected safety, this shift makes the normal tension levels hit way harder. If we look at the graph in a literal sense, something we perceive as human puts us in a space of safety. But when that thing is unraveled to be a threat, but still holds a portion of its human self, we fall down the valley and hit that trough hard. Quick examples of this being the first encounters of Resident Evil 1 and 4, as well as the first encounter of Silent Hill 2. All of these start by seeing something human in shape, only to find out that they're a threat. This also makes for a great introduction of the basic human enemies in these games. The last uncanny enemy type that I want to bring up is the little girl trope in horror. Naturally, children are pretty harmless, since most people above the age of 14 can easily neutralize any normal kid that tried to kill them. Not only that, but it's stereotyped that a little girl would be even less threatening than a little boy, which is why the cognitive dissonance occurs when we see something that looks like an innocent little girl becoming something horrifying. Despite Clock Tower 2 being comically bad at being scary, the laughter from the demon-possessed child is still chilling. Even when we punt it like a football, the giggling, knife-wielding child still haunts me to this day. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more content.